Hi, Gemini Sun and Rising. Welcome to your August 2025 Astro Update. It's Raina here. Okay, before I get into the actual transits that begin in August, I want to just mention some energy that is carrying over into August from July, and in the case of Jupiter, actually from June. First of all, a Mercury retrograde begins in July. I'm saying begins because it's actually happening after this recording. I'm recording on the 7th of July, so this is going to probably happen around the 18th of July when your ruler, Mercury, goes retrograde in Leo. For you, this is in your third house, which is the house that you rule. And so Mercury rules the third house, and you have Mercury retrograde there. So talk about communication breakdown, something happening, something that you're thinking about. Now, of course, the third house can be other things. It can be teaching. You might be rethinking teaching as a profession, if that's what you do. It's also the field of journalism and related fields where you're communicating in one way or the other. You could be rethinking this. This is also the area of learning. So if you have been thinking about or about to embark upon, or maybe you already have started a, course that you possibly could get certified for, credentialed, you might be rethinking it, or it is postponed in some way. The third house is your local area, and it's also your neighbors and your siblings and other extended family members. Third house can be cousins, aunts and uncles. There could be some communication breakdown with any of those entities. And it's your mind. So it can just be that you are kind of like reviewing things that you have been thinking in your life. Sometimes I think Gemini people, and I'd also say this about Virgos because they're ruled by Mercury too, are high strung, and they tend to worry, or they tend to think too much. And I mean, worrying to me is thinking too much, but you know what I mean. And just kind of like maybe even meditation with Mercury retrograde. But this Mercury is retrograding through the 11th and of August, and then it comes out of its shadow on the 26th of the month. The other things I wanted to point out are that Venus and Jupiter are both in Cancer. Venus will be leaving Cancer towards the end of the month. Jupiter will be here for another 10 months. Cancer for you is the second house of earned income. So of all the signs, I think Gemini is one that is really benefiting financially in August. Both of these plants can be associated with moolah, otherwise known as money, and it's also about luck and abundance and harmony with Venus. Can be about Venus rules the second house. So Venus here can be about luxury. So I don't think of Gemini people as particularly materialistic, just as a sign. And so you may be the kind of person, Gemini, that is reluctant to spend money on yourself. And yet you may want to get some kind of item that you think will improve your life, but it costs a lot of money. This might be the time that you do so. And you may have the funds to be able to accomplish that. So I just wanted to tell you about that. I thought that was something that I didn't want to leave out of the reading. On the 6th of the month, Mars goes into Libra, and this is your fifth house, which has to do with love and creativity. With love matters, you could be pursuing someone with I was going to say with a vengeance, but that doesn't sound right. But you could be very ardently um, attracted to someone. Maybe you're spending a lot of time with someone. The fifth house is the house of pleasure and leisure. So, I mean, this could be like doing something that's very active, but to you, it's a leisurely thing. So, it might be that you're more involved in some kind of sport that is very physical, or just sports in general, and it's fun for you. Maybe you're into some kind of competitive thing that is a hobby of yours. The fifth house can be hobbies. If you are artistic, you might be doing it more than usual. By the way, with the Mercury retrograde in the third house, if you are writing a book or you have a blog, the third house can be the social media. You might be rethinking or redoing something in that realm. And Mars in the fifth house can be something very creative. The reason that it jogged my memory is because those two things could be connected. If that's a business that you own, the fifth house can be the business that you own, and you might be pouring a lot of energy into that. On the ninth, we have a full moon at 17 degrees of Aquarius, and there's another air sign that is being activated this month, and this is coming from your ninth house. A full moon in the ninth house can be a spiritual download where it kind of gives you information about your life's purpose, or maybe you're ending some kind of academic um, goal, because the ninth house can be university, it's higher learning, or some other kind of spiritual teaching or training that you have been involved with. Um, the ninth house can be long distance travel. So either you might be ending a trip that you took, or you have gotten everything together to be able to take that trip. It's manifested for you. On the 22nd, the sun goes into Virgo, fellow mutable sign ruled by Mercury, and that happens to be your fourth house of home and family. Gemini, the very next day, we have a new moon at 0 degrees here. So it is possible, very possible, that this new moon falls in your third house instead of the fourth house. But I'm going to read the fourth house because you're going to have a second new moon here, which is actually going to be a solar eclipse on September 21st. So I think this is a very important transit based on the fourth house, because you've already had a lunar eclipse here. You're going to have another lunar eclipse next March here. And so that's why I would prefer to talk about the fourth house, because I think that, since this is one of the angular houses, it's a very important area of life. And this could usher in manifestation, because it's a black moon, second new moon in a month, with domestic affairs that you may see materialize in that September, during that September eclipse. As a matter of fact, the eclipse season could be said to begin in August, and so those domestic matters may really be activated. And so any kind of new property, your dream home, and I would include land. If you're trying to buy land, that could be the case. And with that full moon in the ninth house, it might even be in a foreign country. Maybe that has come to manifestation. For some people, I mean, people who retire, they sometimes live in foreign countries because it's less expensive, or they happen to like that lifestyle more, the weather, whatever. So that could be connected. And when I say retire, it can even be people who are still working who want to have a simpler life or one that is not as expensive. So any of those possibilities might also be present. And so that can be very expansive. The very next, no, 2 days later, Venus goes into Leo. So we're talking here about that same house where the retrograde occurred. Now, at this time, Mercury is direct since the 11th. And the next day after Venus goes into Leo, Mercury comes out of its shadow. So Venus in the third house could be money that you are making from an online endeavor. And maybe this is because you did revamp your website or you changed your focus of your YouTube channel to something. Maybe you needed to review that, consolidate it, make it one topic instead of, I said Virgo. Gemini people tend to have multiple interests. And sometimes if they start a YouTube channel, they may have a hard time focusing on one subject matter. But you may have found that it's more relatable to just kind of do that, and that you're more successful with it. And so that can bring money with online endeavors. And if you're trying to be like a digital nomad, then that can really help you because you're going to be earning money online rather than in a physical office space. So anyway, Mercury, your ruler, coming out of its shadow, I don't know if Geminis and Virgos experience Mercury retrogrades in a more intense way, or if it's easier for you guys, or if the results are mixed. But I think that's a fitting way to end this reading. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like a private reading, please click on the link below for more information on my offerings. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.